guys, I'm here with week 14 in my 2020 Project Life album, and I'm working with the March 2021 kits from Kitaholic Kits. These kits have got a heap of stuff from the new Cocoa Vanilla range, which is called Sun Kissed, and as you can see, it's really beautiful, bright colours. There are also a lot of pinks and reds and stuff in this collection, but I've selected the papers that are mostly blues and aquas with a little bit of yellow as well, because those are the colours I'm going to emphasise in this particular spread. So I've got a couple of bits and pieces from the cut apart sheet, but I also have some of the patterned papers as well. So I'm just deciding where I want to put those cards, where I'm going to put a filler card, where I'm going to do some journaling, things like that. And in a second, I'm going to come back with a little bit of white cardstock because I'm going to mix my journaling up this week. I'm going to do some handwritten journaling on white, and then I'm also going to do a little bit of journaling on some of the printables that we get every month with our kits. We get access to a whole bunch of printables, and there's always labels in those, and they're great for adding journaling as well if you like doing that kind of thing. So you'll see those in a second. But while I've got the white cardstock out, I'm going to mount this square photo here of Artie. This was during lockdown here in Melbourne. So this is him posting a letter to his bestie who lives in the next street over. They would write each other letters, and then when we went on walks, we would post letters into the letterboxes, and that would be a nice thing for each of them to find. It was really sweet. It made me think of Laurie and the March girls in Little Women sending letters to each other. And then this one is a bigger picture. This is a screenshot of a Zoom party that we had with some friends. And I didn't want to trim that down too much because I thought we would lose a bit too much of because there's so many faces in there, I didn't want it to get too small so you couldn't see them. So I've left it big, and I'm actually going to treat that section almost as like a 6x8 layout. I'm not going to cut it up, and because it's on that right hand side of the page, I can tuck it into that 4x6 pocket, and it will be it will be fine. It will stay in place. So that's my plan with that one. I'm not going to make it as sort of embellished and ornate as I would if it was a true like scrapbook layout, but it is going to have those dimensions, I guess, if that makes sense. I have these beautiful embellishments that also are from that Sun-Kissed range and came with the kit. They've got that wooden bit on the outside and then like an enamel bit in the middle. I'm sure there is a name for them, but I don't know what it is because I just don't know. But they're lovely. And they've got beautiful little icons that match the kit. So I'm using those as embellishments. They add a bit of dimension, but not so much that they don't fit in the pockets or anything. They're really nice in that way. So I just showed you those labels, which I have done my journaling on, and they're going to get tucked around the place to just add a little bit more detail and explanation for some of the photos that I've got going on here. And they're going to get tucked in. The next thing I'm going to do is grab out some die cuts. This kit has two different sets of die cuts that we get. You get the flowers, and this whole pack is just flowers and leaves, which is beautiful. I use flowers a lot. If you are a regular watcher of my videos, you'll know that flowers are pretty much my favourite thing to use. But there's also another whole pack of embellishments that has got a whole bunch of different things like that are sort of holiday themed. Like there's little cute umbrellas and bikinis and drinks and rainbows and stuff like that. So other shapes. So there's two whole packs that come with this kit from that same Sun-Kissed range, which I think is really cool. If you're just into flowers, you can get that, and if you like to have a bit more variety, then you've got that option too. So it's very cool. Anyway, so I'm using a bunch of the flowers, as you can see. I'm putting some around the label that I'm going to use as my on my title card, where I'm going to put the week. When I printed it out, I wrote week and then I wrote the date range, and I'm going to add the number with stickers in a little minute. Now I'm just going to stick these down, and I'm going to use my glue in my fine line bottle just to make that a little bit easier, because it's easier to tuck it in under there. And I put a layer of tissue paper just because the patterned paper had that beautiful kind of rainbow on it, and I wanted the label and the flowers to stand out a little bit more off that, so that having that tissue paper under there just helps that happen. And because I've put that up there, I'm going to repeat the tissue paper on the other side in a minute. But first, I'm just going to do a bit more embellishing with flowers. So where I have a label, I want to put some flowers or some other embellishment with it. That's kind of the design goal that I have here. I want to just kind of make sure that I'm embellishing around a label. So on this one, I'm going to put a couple of little flowers, but I love that cloudy paper, so I don't want to cover too much of that up. So I'm just going to use one little flower and then some little berries, and I think that they kind of emphasize the label and kind of draw your attention to it without covering up too much of the background. So I'm pretty happy with that as an option. I'm just going to stick a little bit of glue on there. There's no reason that I'm using glue over double-sided tape. It's just what I happen to have handy, so I grabbed it and used it. Sometimes I make glue choices or adhesive choices for practical reasons, and sometimes it's just convenience. So this is a case of convenience. So those are going in there, and I'm going to come back a little bit later and add that circular wooden embellishment at the top, and it will look a little bit like a brad that's holding the photo in place, but I'm going to come back to that in a second. First, I'm just going to add the embellishments over on this side as well. I've sped it up a bit because it's the same process. It's not complicated. It's just kind of sticking them on. I made that label go a little bit over the edge and trimmed the side off just for a little bit of variation. And now I'm going to come to this one. So I want to cluster these flowers around the image. This is not a particularly pretty photo, but it has all the people that we love who were there at that gathering in it. So like, it's one of those cases of it's an important image and I love it, but it's not like visually, particularly special. So I guess that allows me to use all of these flowers and embellishments to kind of bring the pretty. And I guess that's kind of all I want to say about that, really. So I'm tucking them in. I will, when I attach them in a minute, you'll see that I trim them because a lot of them, half of the flower is covered up. And because I love these flowers so much, I don't want to waste them. So if I just use half of the flower like this, I've got the other half to tuck in somewhere else at another time, or even in another space on this same little section. So I'm just kind of deciding where I want them to go. And then I'm going to stick them in place with washi tape, which is generally my strategy with this kind of thing, so that I've got the option of moving them around if I need to. Washi tape sticks them pretty well, but then I can lift it and change it if I need to. So yeah, that's usually what I do. And I'm just going to layer them up. Again, I'm going to speed this up a fair bit, but I just wanted you to see the process there. Just sticking them on. Some of them are going over the photo, as long as they're not going to cover anybody's face, and most of them are going under. If this was a 6x8 layout, I would probably use some cardboard to kind of lift the photo and some of the flowers to create a little bit of depth in the layers. But because it's going in my Project Life album, I don't want to add that extra dimension. There's no reason you can't. It's just not really something that I tend to do in my Project Life. If I add dimension, it's usually in the form of an actual embellishment like those little wooden ones, or maybe a chipboard embellishment or something like that. That's usually as bulky as I get, and even then it's usually not very much. So yeah, I'm just going around and layering these guys up. This is probably where the majority of the colour on the page is coming in. Like, I've used some of those blues, but I've also incorporated a bit of yellow and orange. This pack has a bunch of pink and red as well, but I'm saving those for a different layout. I don't really want to include even more colours here. I'm just trying to keep it like colourful, but not too many different colours. I think this is enough variation here. So yep, going in and adding those. I want to sort of stick this flower in here because I think you will be able to see when I add the journaling. I'm not going to add it right up against the bottom of the photo. I'm going to have a little bit of space between, so I wanted a flower in there. So that's what's showing. And yep, just going to stick these guys on a bit more and then adhere them with a little bit of extra tape, just so that now that they're where I want them to go, they're not going to move around. So that looks good. And it's kind of like almost like a little wreath that's sort of surrounding that picture. And this is where I'm going to add some more of that blue tissue paper. Because I have it over there on the left, I want it repeated here on the right. And it also allows me to fill in some of the spaces where the flowers are a little bit like uneven. And I want them to be uneven and natural looking, but this helps kind of balance it out and fill it out in the sections where there isn't as much colour. So that works quite well. I like to scrunch it up a little bit so that it's got more texture to it before I stick it down. So I scrunch it and then I open it back out again, and you get all those nice wrinkles, and it just makes it look a bit more fun again. So again, I'm just going to stick that on with tape until I know that it's where I want it. And then I'll come back in with some double-sided tape and actually stick it down to that blue background. I really like that rich blue. It's kind of a light navy. It's not true navy because I feel like that would be a bit darker, but it's got a real richness to it, and I'm really into that. I think it's really fun. And because I've got it over there on the left with that card that says I've got sunshine in my soul, I can repeat it over this side and it's not too heavy. Like, they balance each other out a bit. I really like that sentiment, the sunshine one, with that picture of Sarah Jane and Artie walking with umbrellas and coats in the rain. Like, it might not be sunny outside, but we've got sunshine in our souls. I really like that because that's very us. So I'm going to stick this guy on here, and in a minute I'm going to grab a couple more embellishments to add on. I'm going to stick this one at the top like I said I would do, and I like that. And I'm going to get another one and stick it actually to the left of this bit of journaling here instead of at the top, because I think that will look, just looks better like that. And I like the bright yellow with that star on the yellow quilt that Percy is wrapped in. And then I put another little green one up on that cluster of flowers on my title card. So I'm grabbing these stickers. These are from Simple Stories, and I got them from the Kitaholic shop. They didn't come in the kit, but they're like a little booklet of many, many alphas, and they're fantastic. And these sort of charcoal grey ones are a good kind of neutral colour in amongst all of these other colours that I have going on. And they're just the right size to fit in that gap that I have between where I've written week and the date range. So I'm just making sure everything is exactly where I want it to go, and it is. And I'm really happy with this layout. I love how bright it is. I love that it records what lockdown was looking like for us at this time. And yeah, it's really fun. Make sure you check out Kitaholic Kits because you get all of this beautiful stuff in your kits, and it's just really great. And make sure you like and subscribe here if you're so inclined. You can also find me on Patreon if you are into that kind of thing. And yeah, I'll see you really soon. Bye.